challenged me was the last discipleship that we had, the regional discipleship that Pastor Dow, that we had there in San Bernardino. And what he did is he forced us to look at our churches and to define reality, to define where we're really at as a church, where we're at and where we want to be in 6 months. And then also, what is it going to take to get to those goals? And that's something that we took serious. My leadership team, we got together and we started to really talk and be open and honest and figure out where we were at, what we needed to do. And there was a lot of things that we saw that needed to be addressed. There was a lot of core ministries that we have that are not even operating. And so we said we have to start looking at these ministries and building them. So we went on a plan to begin to build our ministries, to start building up every ministry in the church, especially every core ministry. So we looked at every core ministry, then we gathered our leadership, and then we figured that we needed to place key leaders in key positions to be able to build those ministries. So we're in the process of that right now. That was one thing that we really needed to do to strengthen our church, because we have a vision in the high desert in Victory Outreach Victory. I want to share it with you guys what our vision is. And our vision is to be a base church in the high desert. You know, we've been hearing that a lot from our elders and from even our founder about building base churches, and that was one thing from the very beginning. I think a couple of years ago when we started meeting as a leadership team, that was what we wanted to be. We wanted to be a base that was going to be able to be faithful to the overall vision of Victory Outreach. We want to be a blessing to Pastor Sonny, the elders. You know, we don't really have, I don't think that we have the strength right now to launch a church, you know, by ourselves. But now, with all these things that we're hearing about the multi-regions, we know that we can be a player. We know that we can be a part of what God is doing, because God is raising up people. God is developing people in our church. And so that was one thing. Our vision is that we want to be a base church in the high desert that is faithful to the overall vision of Victory Outreach. Amen? That we're faithful. And then we ask the question, how are we going to accomplish this? How are we going to be a base church? What is the very first step? Right? And maybe I can get some feedback from my leaders. What were some of the things that we talked about? The very first thing.
Prayer being the new norm in the church.
We said that prayer and fasting had to be the new normal in our church. Amen? Amen. Let's get a seat, guys. Let's get a seat, right? Amen. Those are my guys. I can talk. Let's see. We said prayer and fasting has to be the new normal, right? I'm trying to find my vision right here on my iPad. Here it is. It says, prayer and fasting has to be the new normal. Number 2, we have to develop a leadership team. I'm talking about my ministerial staff that loves and trusts one another. When you take over a church, it's not easy. Pastor Dale will tell you, it's not easy when you take over a church, because you have to deal with the existing leadership. You have to deal with existing people, mindsets that sometimes don't want to change. So we had to develop a team that we knew that loved and trust one another. And I thank the Lord that finally, you know, God has put together a team around me. But not only that, I'm getting a little bit of feedback. Can you guys, whoever's on the sound, because I'll start screaming. I don't want to feedback. But not only us to develop a team, but also develop new leaders that would help us with the work. So we already had in mind, we have to build a team here, but we got to develop new leaders. We can't do all the work all by ourselves. We need more leaders. We need new leaders, and then we have to focus on our core ministry. What are the core ministries? The gang, the evangelism, recovery homes, kids gangs, music ministry, prayer ministry, United We Can, United Women in Ministry, the ushers. So we put a plan in place for every one of the ministries, and we put key leaders in every ministry. Amen? And then we challenge them to grow their ministry. We challenge them how to build their ministry. How do you build a ministry? And those are some trainings that we went over on how to build their ministry. Not to be satisfied with the status quo, because how many know that if you don't build purposely, it's not going to happen on its own. It's not going to happen on accident. You can't expect just to open the church doors and your ministry is going to function. Amen? Because we live in a world, in a fallen world, that everything's negative. Everything's negative in this world. Right? So if you don't build, You're gonna be treading. You're gonna tread water at first, and you're gonna go backwards. So you gotta have a purpose to build. So I started training our leaders, how to build a ministry. How do you build a ministry? The very first thing on how to build a ministry is you get a vision from God. You get a vision from God. You get into prayer. You ask God, what do you want for my ministry? Right. The second thing that you do is that you build a team of leaders around you. Get others involved, and you begin to share that vision that God is giving you, right? And you begin to develop, you begin to share that vision, communicate that vision, and then you begin to cast that vision to a team around you, and then you begin to. I'm trying to find my notes. I'm sorry.
Alex, if you can explain to them, how do you get that vision for your ministry? I know you said prayer like that, but give us some practicality, some steps.
Well,
for some of them that, okay, I'll pray, but what do I do next? Or,
Well, one thing that we've learned over the years, we learned from Pastor Rick, is that all the creativity, all the ideas, because we serve a creative God, we serve the Creator. You know, if you really focus on your ministry and you pray and you ask God, He'll give you a plan. He'll give you a plan, and you got to write it down. The thing is, God will speak to you sometimes, but do you write it down? You write your vision down. You write it down, whatever it is, however the Lord is leading you to build that ministry. You write that vision down, and you know, and one thing that I've learned too, for me personally, is whatever ministry I've been involved in, even in San Bernardino, is that I learned to become an expert in that ministry. You become an expert, whatever ministry you're in. I was a small group leader in San Bernardino. I became an expert at small groups. I wanted to be a small, you know, that was my niche. I wanted to build cell groups. I wanted to multiply cell groups. But what did I have to do, and what am I still doing?